Mike Collins, thanks for agreeing to speak with me today. So what was SKA TV?
SKA TV was formerly St Kilda Access TV. It was a community organisation started in 1988 in St Kilda, and its aim was to essentially have access to television for the community through what was then known as community television. It operated on the basis that it did test transmissions of community television, so short-term television broadcasts.
What developments in technology made SKA TV possible?
Part of the changes in technology that were happening by the late 80s was increased availability of equipment that could be put into different settings, and it was relatively easy to use. There was no need to have highly qualified, usually male techs, to operate recording machines and big cameras. There was smaller cameras, smaller tape machines, and new computers like Amiga computers where you could generate on-screen graphics. New mixing consoles that were quite small, only cost a few $100s. All of that meant that anybody could actually establish kind of television production anywhere that had a PowerPoint.
Is it true that SKA TV once built a studio in a toilet?
Yeah, our production base for at least 2 years was in a former hotel room in the Prince of Wales Hotel. The edit suite was in the bathroom area, and then the office area and some of the production area was in the rest of the room.
What values did the SKA TV members hold that made SKA TV possible?
A frustration with the limitations of mainstream media in terms of representation of the world as those volunteers experienced it, and also representation of a diverse range of points of view and issues. SKA TV had a strongly political focus, and it was about creating an alternative to mainstream television and creating access for those voices and those ideas that were essentially excluded from mainstream media in particular television.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to another political viewpoint show. I'm your host, Red Bingham, and tonight we're going to be discussing anarchism and Marxism and their relevance to contemporary Australia.
Anarchists are very sceptical about organisations such as political parties, especially political parties which claim to be the advanced section of society and are going to lead the workers anywhere.
But we think, well, that the present state is there to uphold the present system and prevent workers running society and getting rid of the bosses. And in the course of a revolutionary upheaval, we think workers have to be organised, that they have to take control themselves. And that necessarily means setting up their own institutions. And we would classify that as being a state, not of the state of the same sort as exists today, though.
So what kind of news programs did you make?
Issues of concern to the community. So the focus would be the prevalence of HIV within the community. So there would be news that might be related to HIV prevention and the actions of local community health. Other concerns in relation to housing. At the time, rooming houses were closing down all over St Kilda, and so we were kind of highlighting those issues.
And St Kilda has traditionally been a place for people of low income. I mean, I was born in this suburb, and now I can barely afford to live here.
Did you present the news in a traditional format?
There was no specific guidance on how to present news. I was working on some news presentation for different packages of news, and we needed the presentation in between to film those. one student, I remember, a young man arrived in a suit and tie, and I think was expecting to see a desk and a kind of logo behind him. We found a local playground, and he presented the links sitting in a swing in the playground. I just thought that was funny, and I thought really it was about making some quite blunt points about the imagery of kind of news, and the idea of sitting behind a desk presenting news being an exercise of kind of the symbolism of kind of power and authority, which we didn't believe in.
SKA News team was at the Age Building on Monday the 4th of December, where the issue was newspaper.
Was there a clear division of labour? Did people have different roles? Were there people who just acted in a wholly journalist role and didn't operate technical equipment?
There was an emphasis on all volunteers in SKA TV having production skills. We were adverse to the journalists and producers very much kind of being dominant figures in kind of narratives, and we wanted to embed the idea of representation and leading can be done by anybody, and including, for instance, there was a number of women in the organisation pointed out that there was still a kind of tendency for men in the organisation to take the lead, for men to grab the camera, and as a practical response to that, they established a specific women's production unit whereby it was all women's crews in production to shoot and develop material.
SKA TV met a need for independent voices in the media. Is that need being met in other ways now?
You could say that internet clips have a huge reach, but aren't a citizen journalism movement, as there's no cohesive ideology. But even without a cohesive political intent, the reach of the video clips on the internet is huge.
Can you give me any examples of what's happening in terms of what's happening now?
Well, a police brutality clip is seen by millions. It doesn't actually need a single group to produce it. Violence and policing has a context that's now supplied by the mainstream media, as they have to cover what the people are doing and talking about online. The media started following the citizen journalism. That's the biggest change since 30 years ago.
Thank you so much for talking to me today, Mike.
Thank you, Nell.
Okay, this is me and Rod Quantock. Who? Mounting up. Who? Takeover bid for SKA Television.
SKA TV.